Hi there, I'm Renelle Mason, and this is Ronnie Watches Movies. So today I'm going to be ranking all of Ryan Gosling's movies based on their rewatchability. I am such a huge fan of Ryan Gosling. He's an amazing actor, and he's worked on some really amazing films. He will always hold a special place in my heart as an actor because his movies are what really kind of got me interested in film on a deeper level. He has such a diverse filmography. He's worked on the most interesting projects with the most interesting directors, and I am so excited to go through his movies today. I decided to rank his movies based on their rewatchability because some of his best movies are ones that you don't necessarily want to see more than once. And I feel like most people already know kind of what his best movies are. So I thought that rewatchability was kind of a fun and original way to go through his filmography. And I've watched some of his movies so many times. So with all that out of the way, let's get into it. I apologize if my tier list is a little janky. I'm still very new at pretty much everything. So we are starting off with Barbie. Barbie's so fun. I know it has a little bit of division in the audience about people loving it or hating it or thinking it was too heavy-handed. But personally, I think it's just a riot, and my husband and I laughed so hard when we watched it. I've seen it a couple times, so I'm going to put it in I'd Do It Again. Ooh, okay. Next up, we've got The Believer. This was such a good movie. Incredibly harsh, though. I've only seen it once, and I'm gonna throw it in Never Again. This movie definitely haunted me for a little bit after I was done watching it, and I don't really want to subject myself to it again. However, I do highly recommend if you're into those kind of movies, I would definitely do a little bit of research before watching just to make sure it's something that you're going to be okay with. Yeah, it's a little harsh, but so good, so worth a watch. Okay, so next up we've got The Big Short. The Big Short is a great movie. It does a really interesting kind of job of taking the serious topic of the financial crash of 2008 and turning it into a comedy movie. They handle it really well. They do a good job of kind of taking that topic and dumbing it down so that most people can understand what actually happened, even though half of it still goes right over my head. This movie has a stacked cast full of lots of really funny people, and yeah, I'm gonna put it in meh. Not because it's not great, but just because it's not, I don't know, it's not a big rewatch for me. I've seen it a couple times, but I don't know that I'll necessarily ever watch it again. Okay, next up we've got Blade Runner 2049. I love this movie. It's stunning. It's an absolutely gorgeous show. Written amazingly, acted amazingly, shot amazingly. The whole thing is just a complete masterpiece. It is a little bit of a slow burner, so I'm gonna put it in I'd Do It Again instead of seeing it a million times, simply because I do think that it requires a bit of time kind of between viewings because there is just a lot of slow pacing, and so it's not one that you really want to watch again and again and again and again and again. With those kind of slow paced movies, you will get bored if you watched it enough times. Moving on to Blue Valentine. This is another amazing movie. I love the director, Derek Cianfrance. He's a total genius. I've seen so much behind the scenes stuff for this movie. It's just a completely fascinating project. However, it's really heavy, and I'm going to put it in Never Again, which anyone who's seen this movie will probably agree with me. It does not leave you with the warm and fuzzies when it is over, and most people don't want to subject themselves to this one more than once. We've got Crazy Stupid Love now. This is probably my all-time favorite romantic comedy. This movie is pure perfection to me. It is absolutely hilarious. Again, another completely stacked cast, just full of funny people. I love this movie. I have no complaints about this movie. I have seen it a million times and will see it a million times more. No notes. 10 out of 10. We are moving on to Drive. This is another amazing movie, one of my favorites, one of many people's favorites. I'm going to put it in I'd Do It Again for the same reason as Blade Runner. Just because it is a slower paced movie, and I find when I am rewatching it, I have to make sure that enough time has passed and that I'm in the right mood to just like sit and watch it and be fully invested in it. I've tried to watch it before when there was like a lot of other things going on and I kept on getting distracted, and it totally takes away from the watching experience. You do have to sit and be fully invested in this movie. So yeah, I'm going to put it in I'd do it again, even though I've already done it again many times. It's just not one that you want to watch over and over and over again repeatedly. Okay, next up we've got The Fall Guy. This is Ryan Gosling's latest movie, and I love it. It was so much fun. My husband and I went to go see it in theaters, and we just laughed our butts off. I came home and immediately bought it once it was available on streaming, and I've seen it several times since then. It's a pretty new movie, and I've seen it probably at least 3 times. So I'm gonna put this one in Seen It a Million Times. It's just so fun, and it's one that is easy to rewatch again and again without it getting old. Alrighty, next up we have The First Man. I am putting this one in Never Again, which is kind of surprising. It's actually a really great movie, and I love Damien Chazelle. He did a really great job on this, making it just I liked the spin he kind of put on it. It was super character focused. It was beautiful. It was just handled so well. It was actually a really great movie. But for me personally, as a mother, watching what Neil Armstrong went through with his daughter was just really upsetting for me, and it took me a little bit to recover after watching it, and I don't think that I could subject myself to it again. So yeah, I'm going to avoid that one. Okay, moving on, we've got Gangster Squad. This one I'm going to put in meh. I don't hate this movie. I know that lots of people were really disappointed with it. I think it's kind of fun. I really love the style of it. I think it looks great. It is lacking in a lot of areas. So it's one that I don't necessarily seek out, but I would watch it again. You know, it's kind of meh. Okay. Whoop, there goes my dog. Slevin. Stop it. Mommy's trying to film. Okay, so next up we've got Fracture. This is pretty solid legal drama. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I'm going to put it in meh just because, I don't know, it isn't one that I seek out to watch, repeatedly, but it's a good movie. I like it. Okay, coming up next we've got The Gray Man. This is a movie I know a lot of people were really disappointed with. Lots of people just straight up hated it. Personally, I love this movie. Pretty much everyone I know who's seen it also loves this movie. I'm actually planning a video kind of defending it because, yeah, I've seen so much negative stuff about it. And personally, I've rewatched it so many times. I think it's great. I'm going to put it in Seen It a Million Times because I have. And yeah, if you're interested more in my thoughts on it, keep an eye out for that video coming up. Okay, next up we've got Half Nelson. Ryan Gosling was actually nominated for an Oscar in this role, and he wholeheartedly, completely deserved that nomination. He was so great in this movie. It's a really fantastic movie. One, again, kind of a pattern here, quite harsh. I'm going to put it in Never Again. I've seen it once, and that was enough for me. It's a really uncomfortable watch. It is worth watching because of, just how great it is, but yeah, not really one that you want to watch more than once. Moving on, we've got Ides of March. This is another one that's going to go into meh for me. When I first watched it, I really didn't think I was going to enjoy it much, and I liked it more than I thought I would. It was actually quite interesting, and I really loved the characters, and I loved kind of how there were not necessarily any good guys and bad guys. Everyone was kind of morally gray, kind of how real life is. And so I thought that the themes of the movie were super interesting and I was intrigued. However, just the topics, it being, a political drama, didn't super draw me in. And so, yeah, I'm going to put it in meh. I wouldn't object if someone wanted to watch it, but yeah, it's not one that I'm going to seek out. Moving on, we have got La La Land. Now, this might frustrate some people. I'm going to put it in I'd rather not. La La Land is a great movie, like I said before. I love Damien Chazelle. I think he's an amazing director, and I love the things that he did with this movie. I love Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling together. They just have the most amazing chemistry. However, I'm really not into this style of movie. It's just not my thing. I have watched it a couple times, and I appreciate everything about it except for the fact that it's just not my type of movie. I really wish it was, because it's one that it looks so great. I love the acting, I love the style, I love the direction, and I wish that I was just more into old style musicals, but unfortunately I'm not. So, yeah. Ooh, okay, moving on. Lars and the Real Girl. This is one of my absolute favorite movies. I'm going to put it in Seen a Million Times. I have seen it a million times. Every time I watch it, it just warms my heart. It's a movie, the story should not work out the way it does. It should definitely be kind of like a raunchy comedy. And instead, they managed to turn it into this super just heartwarming, sweet, touching movie. It's incredible. I highly recommend it to absolutely everyone. I just love it. Next up, we've got The United States of Leland. I'm going to put this one in I'd Rather Not. This movie got some backlash due to its subject matter. It is kind of interesting. I did find the characters really interesting, and how, like the Ides of March, everyone's kind of morally gray. There's no good people, bad people. The good people still do bad things. It had a lot of really interesting subject matter. I do understand why some people were really against it. Definitely look into it if you're interested. But yeah, it's not something that I necessarily want to watch again. But yeah, it does have some really interesting components to it. Moving on to Murder by Numbers. I'd rather not. These types of movies really freak me out. The kind of more realistic based thriller movies where, it's not some kind of evil monster, it's just people. I did have a bit of a hard time while my husband was away for work, kind of sleeping after seeing this. It was quite disturbing to me in that way. It's really not like a fantastic film or anything. I think it pretty much flew under the radar. No one really has too strong of opinions about this movie. But yeah, just based on the subject matter and the fact that it is just real people doing absolutely terrible things, yeah, that kind of sets me off. And yeah, I'd rather not watch it again. The Nice Guys. If you haven't seen The Nice Guys, you need to go watch The Nice Guys. It is the funniest movie I think I've ever seen in my life. It goes in, seen it a million times, because I have seen it a million times, and each time it is still as funny as the first time. Okay, The Notebook. I'd rather not. The Notebook's getting a lot of hate for the last few years because of the character that Ryan Gosling plays. Personally, I think that the character that Rachel McAdams plays deserves a bit more of that hate. Neither of them are very great people. For the most part, my reasons for not wanting to watch this movie again don't stem from, like the characters or anything like that. I'm just really not a romantic movie person. Like La La Land, it's just really not my type of thing. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's one of those ones where when it came out, everyone who's into that kind of genre really loved it. And then the times being what they are now, people are kind of looking more deeply into those types of movies and breaking down these kinds of toxic behaviors that were romanticized back in the day when these kinds of movies were really popular. I tend to kind of stay out of all of that. Personally, I think movies are movies and not necessarily a reflection of what we necessarily desire in reality. But yeah, all in all, it's just really not my thing. So I'd rather not. Only God Forgives. This movie is seriously divided online. I am kind of planning a video around this movie. People either really love this movie or really hate this movie. I do lean to the love side. I actually really, really like this movie. I probably wouldn't like it as much if I hadn't done some research on it and kind of learned about the themes and the symbolism. I probably would have been really lost if I hadn't done that research. But having learned about it, I am able to kind of enjoy it on a deeper level. And I'm going to put it in I'd Do It Again, just because it is quite a bizarre movie. And like a lot of the other ones in this column, it's just not something that you want to watch repeatedly. Oh boy, The Slaughter Rule. Most people probably haven't heard of this movie, or if they have, they probably haven't watched it. Like a lot of the other movies on this list, I am planning an entire video based on this movie. This movie ticked me off like I'm not sure any movie ever has before, hence the reason it is getting its very own video. I've never seen anyone else talk about this movie online except for Nikki Carrion. I'm not entirely sure if I'm saying that correctly. Nikki Carrion made a video where she watched every single Ryan Gosling movie and she only posted part 1. I have been waiting over a year for part 2 of that video. So Nikki, if you're watching, finish your Gosling deep dive, would you? Because, you know, I'm waiting. I'm gonna put the slaughter rule in. Oh, this is so hard because it's such a good movie until the end. I'm gonna put it in meh. It's a little harsh, can be kind of uncomfortable to get through. It's a really great movie though. The ending is what really pisses me off about it. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in meh just because it's one that's really hard to rate. Okay, The Place Beyond the Pines. This is another one of my favorite movies. Surprise, surprise. This one is also directed by Derek Cianfrance. He directed Blue Valentine. Once again, the way he handled this movie is pure perfection. This movie is a masterclass in filmmaking. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's a little bit harsh, a little bit slow, but it all just works together so well. I'm gonna put it in I'd do it again, just because, like the other movies on this list, especially like Drive or Blade Runner, it does get kind of slow, and so if you're rewatching it a bunch of times, it just gets kind of boring and old. Not necessarily boring, but just it doesn't captivate you and hold your attention the same way as if you wait a longer time between viewings. Next up, we have Stay. I am obsessed with this movie. It is not a super popular movie, but it's an absolutely genius film. Everything about it is just so smart. It's a little bit mind-bending. It's definitely one where you need to watch it a second time at least because you need to know the ending before you're able to go back and pick up on all the little clues and hints that are dropped throughout the movie. It is such a smart film. I'm putting it in Seen It a Million Times because I absolutely love it. I love the whole vibe of it. I love the story. Everything about it just works together so good. It is probably one that maybe isn't for everybody just because it is a little bit odd and it's kind of, the editing style feels very trippy when you're watching it. But yeah, it is absolutely one of my favorite films and I have seen it so many times. Next up, we've got Song to Song. This is a really interesting movie. In fact, I would say it's kind of more like an experience than a movie, which sounds super pretentious, but you just kind of have to watch it to get what I mean. I do have a lot of respect for this movie and the way that it was made and all the actors in it. I thought everyone was super talented, especially given, you know, the subject matter and the fact that there was no script for this movie. I'm going to put it into Never Again because this movie actually gave me a headache to watch because of the way that it's filmed. It's super trippy. It's just, I can't even, yeah, if you have vertigo or any kind of medical problem like that, this movie is not going to be a good time for you. So definitely look into it a bit before if you're considering watching it. Okay, we've got Remember the Titans now. This is a super nice movie. I like Remember the Titans. I am going to put it into meh, just because it's not one of my favorites. It's not something that, you know, I really want to watch a bunch of times, but it's cute. It's nice. It's one of those ones where it has a more serious subject matter, but it's done in a kind of really family-friendly way. It's a Disney movie, right? So yeah, it's a fun movie and I enjoy it, but it's not one that I seek out to watch over and over and over again. Okay, last on this list we have, what is this called? All Good Things, I think? I should probably look that up. Yes, okay, All Good Things. I've never seen this movie, so I can't really rate it. I'm gonna put it in Never Again, just because I've never seen it, so obviously I don't want to see it again. It's just not something that I'm super interested in. I looked into it a little bit. It seems like most people thought it was really bad. There was a little bit of violence against animals that I had heard about, which I'm really not into and didn't want to put myself through, so I just decided to skip this one altogether. Yeah, if you have seen it, let me know what you thought of it, and maybe I'll give it a go in the future, but as of right now, it's not on my list. So that is going to do it for today's video. I apologize for the noise of my dog in the background. He is quite restless today. Let me know what your favorite Ryan Gosling movie is down below, and I will see you all again next time.